Okay, so in this video we have a equation that we have to manipulate, and the reason that we have to do that is we want to graph this and label the vertices, co-vertices, and the center. So in order to do that, the center we can pick out right now, but the other pieces we need to make sure that our equation is equal to 1. So the first thing that I'm going to do, go ahead and shrink this a little bit, give us a little bit more room, and then I can zoom in when we graph. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by 144. And you can take your trusty old calculator out and see how much 16 goes in 144. So 144 divided by 16, how does it reduce? We would get x plus 1 quantity squared over 9 plus y minus 1 squared over 16. And that's just coincidence. The numbers we picked out, that's how they work. We want to make sure we have a number that both of these guys work with, and we also are dealing with two perfect squares at the bottom. So is this a vertical or horizontal major axis? It is vertical because the larger number is underneath the y, so I know this thing is going to be longer up and down. So I also know that this is a squared and this is b squared. And I also need the, doesn't say foci, but we're going to go ahead and get those also. So I know 16, let me do this here, I'm going to clear this out. So I know a is equal to the square root of 16, which is 4, b is equal to 3, and we're going to use the equation, and I'm just kind of putting a border around this, a squared minus b squared is equal to c squared to find the focus. So I have 16 minus 9 is equal to c squared, so c is equal to the square root of 5. Okay, so not a nice value for our focus, but we know how to work with that. So first things first, let's go ahead and identify the center. So the center is negative 1, 1. And if we want to look at a vertice, remember it's vertical, so that means our y is going to change. And the a value is 4, so from this 1 I'm going to add and subtract 4. So I'm going to have negative 1, then I'm going to do 1 plus or minus 4. That's going to create my new vertex. So my vertices end up being negative 1, 5, and negative 1, negative 3. Co-vertices, we're going to do the same thing. I'm not going to write it out here. We've done this quite a few times. Co-vertices are on the x. The y doesn't change, so I'm just going to add a negative 1 and subtract a negative 1. And so, excuse me, from here, I apologize, I'm going to add a 3 and subtract a 3. So I'll have negative 4, 1, and 2, 1. And for the focal points, the focal points are going to be changed on the y-axis. I'm going to take negative 1, that's going to be my x value, which is not going to change, and it's going to be 1 plus or minus root 5. And because we're dealing with a radical, I leave it as that. And then to graph it, you just approximate it, get the decimal value, and you can go ahead and plot the point. So I'm going to zoom in and graph it here real quick. And so I'm going to plot the center first, which is negative 1, 1. So I plot that first, and then I'm going to plot my vertices, which are negative 1, 5, and negative 1, negative 3. So these are the vertices. I'm going to graph the co-vertices, which are negative 4, 1, and 2, 1. And then I'll put the foci in a different color, negative 1, 1 plus or minus root 5. And that gets us about 3.2, so I'm just going to approximate right here. If you label the point, it's not that big of a deal. And then negative 1.2. And there's that point. And then I'm just going to go ahead and trace my ellipse. And there we go.